Look, I suppose, can you see it all okay there now, or is it?
Yeah.
Yeah, on my screen, it looks like I can
Yeah.
see 2 slides. Can you, or is it just one?
Just one.
Oh, perfect. That's great. So I suppose really this is as informal as you can get. I'm going to go through it. It's really, if you do want to ask questions, Joanne, I think if people want during it, I don't mind, because it might help us kind of look at things. I have the portal open, so I can go in there live if we need to. But we'll start off. This is what I'm hoping to cover. So the CYPSC coordinator commissioning process. So from a coordinator's point of view, what you do when you want to progress a payment for one of your partner agencies. We're going to look at the TUSLA vendors, because we have a new process, new department in TUSLA since August. The different CYPSC funding streams for 2025, our partner agency payment template, TUSLA funding processes for partnered agencies. So from the partner agency's perspective, finance and CYPSC partner agency payment process. So what we do in TUSLA finance, the CYPSC part of it, and from national office perspective. And then I'm going to just talk a wee bit about July and how things went in July. And again, there's room for questions at the end, but do feel free during it if you'd like to ask any questions. So we've done all our introductions. So really then we'll just start off with the coordinators commissioning process. So as you probably know this, the coordinators, but bear with me, as you know some of it, and it's just kind of going through it again. And then for the business support, it's hearing it for the first time. So you identify a need locally and you design the service response that you want from the local agency. So it's only one partner agency to receive funding from CYPSC TUSLA. So I suppose there, for me, it was kind of new learning that sometimes you might have one partner agency, say an FRC, but they might, because the other agency that's involved may not have a contract or an SLA with TUSLA, they might pay the other organisation on your behalf. I think that I'm correct in that. I've seen that on a number of the SLAs. So the first thing you have to do is confirm your partner agency as a TUSLA vendor. They cannot be paid unless they're a TUSLA vendor. So they have a unique ID number as a vendor, and money then follows that vendor number. From the 1st of August, TUSLA set up their own third-party service providers. So prior to that, the HSE used to do that on behalf of TUSLA, but now that's moved in-house. And the next slide will show you where you'll find all the information about that. The other thing that the coordinator needs is access to the TUSLA commissioning portal. Now, I know for some coordinators, you mightn't have access yourself and you might be using local finance people. I would suggest, and we're hoping after today, that people might go in and the coordinators get access to the portal yourself. It allows you really good oversight of the Part B, the schedule of service that you set up with the organisation prior to any payment going out. So that's where you have the service design and how much funding is going to go to the organisation. Now I've put a link in here that will bring you directly to, and hopefully it will work, and it has. So it brings you directly to the access to portal admin. Can you see that? You may not see it. I'll have to go in here, I'd say. Sorry now. And if I go in here, I think you can see it now. And that's the form that you fill in. So that link will bring you directly to it. And it's a simple enough process to get signed up to get access. Sorry about that now, to get access to now just find my way back out. Second. Here we go. So I think I'm back on track. So then the CYPSC partner agency template is the CYPSC template that you fill in every month. Again, there's a link in here for it. I won't go to it because it'd be too time consuming, but I would suggest Kevin is going to keep the link updated in the TUSLA website. So on the members part of the website, you can go in and get the up-to-date template. I would suggest maybe going in every few months. Now in a year, this year, I think there's been 2 updates maybe. So it just ensures you have the current template. And then the final thing as a CYPSC coordinator does is identify the funding stream and the matching your local CYPSC cost code number. So every CYPSC has a cost code number to go with the funding stream that they're paying money out of. So this is the information on the TUSLA vendor. So you can look at that when you have time, when you receive the presentation slides, and it gives you a link again to go in directly to the CYPSC portal or the hub and get all the information you need about setting up a vendor. So these are the funding streams for 2025. So the CYPSC Programme Fund, each CYPSC gets 40,000 euros. The Healthy Ireland Fund get 59,000 euros. The International Protection Support Fund is tailored per CYPSC, so it's a resource allocation model. Parenting support awareness, there's 3,000 to each CYPSC. And just to note, it's important to note here that if Parenting Support Awareness Fund comes out of the CYPSC Programme Fund. The other ones, CYPSC Programme, Healthy Ireland, International Protection, you'll have a cost code centre number for those, but the parenting support comes under the CYPSC Programme cost code centre number. And then there's Local Area Child Poverty Pilot Fund, and this is specific to 5 CYPSCs. There's no separate cost centre number. I'm assuming it goes under the CYPSC Programme Fund, but Junan might confirm that. That's confirmed, yeah. So then you have your payment, partner agency payment template. So this is what you submit to TUSLA Finance. So it's really important to fill this out really accurately if you can. So there's drop-down menus for your funding streams. So from the previous slide, you saw the different funding streams. You'll find all these in here. So you can just click on your drop-down menu and it will give you your different funding stream. And then the other drop-down menu is for the GL code. So that's specific to CYPSC, and that's the GL code that identifies in finance that this is a CYPSC payment. So you go in here then and you have your vendor.
Sorry, Anita, can I just interrupt you there for a second? Just if you just wouldn't mind sharing from the current slide, there's 2 slides just showing up. We're getting the next slide as well.
Right.
Just because I know there's a lot of detail on this slide and I know you wanted to go through it. Yeah.
Right, I don't know why that display settings.
So
is that?
Yeah, that's it.
Is that better? Yeah,
that's it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Apologies for that. Yeah, here's the template. Is that clearer? You're able to see it okay?
Yeah,
so
that's perfect.
Yeah. So this is where the vendor number goes. So this is specific to each agency or partner agency to have their specific vendor number. And it's really important that the correct one is in there. Elsewise, it'll go to a different vendor and, you know, the vendor, the partner agency you want to get paid will not receive the funding. So then you have your CYPSC area name. This is your drop-down GL code, so you don't have to do anything there. So your cost center number then is specific to each CYPSC. So you have to ensure that the CYPSC Programme Fund, say for example, if you're Cork, Tracy, she will have her specific Cork cost code center number. So that goes in there. Again, that's important because it ensures that it's Cork's funding that is being utilised and it's not another CYPSC funder. So then this is your organisation name, the payment amount, CYPSC area level, or lead, sorry, your vendor's address, and the Part B, schedule of service. So then as national office go in, we can look at the Part B, we can see the organisation is correct. We can check that the amount of funding they're to receive is correct. We can see the detail of the funding. And then we can also go into their Part A. Once we have their Part B, we can copy and paste the name of the organisation, go in and look up their Part A, which is our contract with TUSLA, and we'll find their vendor number. But I'll talk to that more as we go along. So these are all the things that need to be inputted in yellow. So it's just, I would suggest don't use previous templates, to always have a fresh template every month, because what can happen is you might copy and paste things in and you might delete, but you might leave the incorrect vendor number. You know, it's more likely that an error can occur if you don't have a clean template every month. So then this is the funding process for the partner agency. So again, they have to have a TUSLA vendor number. And if they don't, that's where you'll come in and you'll go through that process with them, and you'll have all the information from the previous slide of how to do that. So they have to have access to the TUSLA commissioning portal. And again, I've put in a link that they can go in and they can find out all the information on and it's very easy to do. You just go from each page and they read up on commissioning on the Part A, Part B, and then finally they can, you know, request access that they want to become a vendor with TUSLA. They need the vendor number prior to applying for the commissioning portal to have access to the portal. So that is the first step. And then they can go about getting access and become a payee of TUSLA. Every year, each organisation, partner agency, has to have a signed Part A. That's a contract and company information in place for the current year. So they need one of those every year. So that's where all the governance requirements that TUSLA require are laid out in the contract. So Children's First, they have a company number, they have a charity number, all the compliance things and governance and the framework that's needed is included in the contract and company. So there's only, as I said, one per partner agency per year. The Part B then, the schedule of service, this outlines service provided for the CYPSC, in this case, the CYPSC funding. So it's the agreement between CYPSC and the partner agency of what they will do for the funding for that year. They can have multiple Part Bs with TUSLA each year. So CYPSC might have one, PPFS, all the different departments in TUSLA may have schedule of service with them. So when they're preparing the schedule of service, the Part B funding streams are aligned to the following service types in the TUSLA commissioning portal. Now, this is something that's very important, and I've noticed that sometimes they're not aligned to CYPSC. And for, I suppose, transparency and in case of audit, it would be important that they are. So say for when they go into set up their Part B, they get options of, you know, is it a national service or with local services? I'm not sure of exactly what they see on their side, but what we have to advise them is that they're a national service and CYPSC, when it's the CYPSC Programme Fund, CYPSC International Protection Fund, Parenting Support Awareness Fund, any of those three go under national service and CYPSC. And then for Healthy Ireland, there's an option for National Service and Healthy Ireland CYPSC. So I've noticed in Part Bs that CYPSC in a number of them is not even mentioned. So the option is they're just picking National Service maybe and not going in for the CYPSC. So I think it's just important, if you noted that when you're advising your partner agency, that when they're generating a Part B, this needs to be included in the Part B. So then this is their partner agents Part B, and this is the part of the Part B that's really important when it comes to the funding and CYPSC, because you're looking at what, now I personally think they say requested, funding requested in this agreement in the Part B, and then they look for the total, funding allocated. I personally think that these should be both the same, because it's kind of confusing. If, say, for example, an organisation asked for 20,000, they only got 10,000. You know, that the first figure you see is the 20,000. But this is how the form is designed currently. So I would just suggest with your organisations that you tell them to put in both these sections what they were allocated for the year. So if it was 5,000, put 5,000 in both, irrespective of what they actually requested. And then this part, the breakdown of the funding explained in plain language, that's the opportunity for you as the CYPSC coordinator to ask the organisation to input what you think is important to be known in there. So for example, it might be 3,000 is for running a group with young people, 2,000 is to bring, I don't know, to provide some kind of a session or a workshop, whatever it may be. If you could put some information in there, it's really helpful then for people checking it to know exactly. And even if you're retrospectively going back to look at an organisation, if say a new CYPSC coordinator comes in, they can see what this organisation were funded to do in the past. So then we're on to the finance and CYPSC partner payment process. So this is where, as the coordinator, what you do every month when you have a number of payments to submit to finance. So you get your everything together and you send an email to cipscfinance@tusla.ie. The email is to include a snapshot of the Part A contract and information. That's the signed Part A. I think it's normally found on page 52 of that document. So when you go into the portal and you get the Part A, you can go down to the very end of the Part A and you will see there's an attachment and it's the signed contract, and you go into that and you'll find on page 52, I think 51 or 52, the signed part, and you just take a snapshot of that and attach it to your email. You download a copy of the Part B schedule of service, and it has to be the status accepted. So this is where you have looked at your Part B, you've agreed it with the partner agency, everything is in order, and you sent them an email saying, I'm happy to proceed with the funding and the status has been changed of your Part B has been changed to accepted. This then will populate in the Part B. And if you go down to the very end of your Part B, you'll see in the comments section that the status has been changed to accepted. That's the Part B that you should attach to your email to finance. I've noticed a number that were accepted afterwards, but the actual PDF copy that was sent to finance was not accepted. So it just makes it a bit cleaner if the accepted copy is sent. So then the completed partner agency payment template listing all the relevant partner agency payment requests that month. So you can put numerous payment requests. You could have 7 or 8, you can have 2, you can have 3, well, however many you have in any month. All the required documentation is sent in one email. So you can put everything in one email to finance. And so everything is there. If you have 10, put 10. If you've 2, whatever it may be. We advise you not to send multiple emails with multiple attachments, because for finance it's cleaner if they know Mead have sent me in one email and I have 5 payments for Mead, everything is in there and they can view everything for Mead in one email. So the email then is to be sent by the submission deadline to avoid delay in payment. So as you know, recently we've looked at the deadline, and to take on board the extra compliance that we as national office have to meet in checking each payment, and to ensure that we give enough time for finance to do everything they've to do behind the scenes, we've changed the submission date. So we're asking everyone to get them in by, say, for September, the 10th of September. That you have everything submitted to finance by then. In October by the 10th and in November by the 12th. We're giving each, I suppose, 8 days of working days of every month. The first 8 days of each working a working day of every month for you to submit everything in. That doesn't mean that, you know, if you have it ready at the end of August, for September, by all means, get it together and send it into finance. You can send them in at any time, but these are the deadlines. So if you get it in by the 10th of September, it will be paid by the 10th of October. But if you don't get it until the 15th of September, it'll have to wait for November's payment run before it'll be paid. So then these are the finance and CYPSC National Office processes that we have to do. So CYPSC Finance review each of the partner agency payments before forwarding to CYPSC National Office for approval. So then when it comes to us, we must make the following checks before we can issue approval. We have to check that the Part A contract and information is signed. We have to check that the vendor number corresponds with the Part A. So when we look at your template, the CYPSC template, we have to ensure that the vendor number is the same one that's in the Part A. Now, what happened once in July, I think, or twice, the actual organisation had the wrong vendor number in the Part A, and the CYPSC coordinator had the right number. So that was very unusual. So that meant we had to go back to the agency, and they had to go back, and it delayed the payment, but they had to go into the portal and they had to get the correct vendor number inputted into their contract. Another occasion, I think in July, they put no vendor number in the Part A, so we had to go through that process again and get the vendor number put in before we could. So this is where the checks are good, because they ensure that everything is in order. The Part B schedule is service status is accepted. So we go in again, we look at the Part B that's sent on the email, and if it's accepted, that's fine. If not, we have to go into the portal and check to ensure that it is. We also have to check the funding amount is the same in the Part B and partner agency template. So once or twice we've had occasion where they didn't match, so we had to go back to the coordinator and then ensure that the Part B was correct, or the Part A agency. Say, for example, one was 15 and one was 19,000. We had to ensure that which was the correct figure. Detail of the service delivery outlined in the Part B. Going forward, we would ask that there is some detail in that section of the Part B that I showed earlier, that you can go in and see exactly what the Part B is, what the service delivery is going to be for the funding that the partner agency are receiving. And then the final thing we will check in the portal is the national descriptor is correct in the Part B. So whether it's National Service CYPSC or National Service Healthy Ireland CYPSC. Now for July, we didn't go back to people and say, can you do that? But going forward, I would rate this as being important, that you do ensure that the Part B has the correct descriptor for the funding being allocated. And then the final thing we check is the funding stream and local CYPSC cost code numbers are correct, because that ensures that the money is coming out of the correct funding stream. So then I thought it might be good just to talk a bit about the partner agency payments in July and our experience. So there was 89 partner agency payments requests reviewed in July. 60 required follow-up emails and phone calls with the CYPSC coordinators for, sometimes there was a few or just minor corrections, but they had to be all followed up. And 6 of the partner agency payments were not approved in July. So they've been held. Some are being resubmitted, others haven't yet, but they're actually past the date now, so it'll have to be in the next payment run that they'll come in. But there's, I think 4 have come in, 2 are still haven't been resubmitted. So I would say to you, try avoid reusing the CYPSC partner agency template. Get a new clean one every month and input all the information you need to do. Try and avoid having the incorrect vendor number, because that's really problematic, because that can cause problems down the line with finance if another partner agency gets paid and your partner agency is coming back and saying they haven't been paid. The cost centre number and funding stream, that's come up a good few times that they're not matching. So I'd ask you to be really careful when doing that. attaching Part B with the status unaccepted, you know, can you avoid that if at all possible? Put in the accepted Part B. And differences in Part B and the partner agency template funding amount. That's again really important because you know, it would save, it causes complications. We have to go back to you, you have to come back to us. We phone calls and emails unnecessarily, you know, when it's a minor thing in some cases, but it still needs to be accurate. So I suppose we're saying to you, I know it's very, you know, when you're busy and you're trying to get a lot of things done, but if you could be as accurate as possible. And now with the grade fives, I'm assuming that some of this may be allocated to them, even though ultimately the coordinator will be signing off on all of this. But I'm assuming that the grade fives will do some of this. So that's it. If there's any questions for people, I hope it wasn't too quick and too much of a run through.
Tracy has her hand up there.
Hi, Anita.
Hi, Tracy.
Yeah. Hey, nice to see you. Thanks for that. It's really helpful. I've got a bit of a, I don't know whether it's a unique or a, well, it's quite a challenging situation in Cork in terms of how we manage this in Cork. And I suppose it's something that I have to kind of work out, because we have our lead commissioner in Cork who kind of, I have to send the paperwork to her, and then she puts everything through, and there have been some difficulties around that. So I'm not quite sure whether I can kind of change that situation. Do I need to go through my area manager, or can I go through the National CYPSC office in terms of, you know, the one being responsible to actually put in the requests? I'm not quite sure. So it's quite a different situation, I think.
Is it the request with the portal and doing everything with the commissioning portal?
Now I did get the portal form signed by my area manager at the time. This is a while ago now. It took me quite a while to get that permission, but I did get the permission for that. But we still have a situation in Cork where everything actually goes through the lead commissioner. So it's a local decision, I suppose, in terms of how that's managed. You know, I do know that some other CYPSCs have some. I think it's not Waterford CYPSC. It's one of the other CYPSCs.
It is Waterford CYPSC. It's Waterford, yeah. Waterford and Cork are the two exceptions, yeah.
Yeah. So, but I know that I do struggle a little bit with all of that, but I don't know whether, how to manage it. I think it might work better in Waterford. I'm not quite sure. Do you know?
Yeah, I might just interject here. So Tracy and Margaret, it might be useful if the three of us just have a call offline on this and discuss just the specifics, because you are in quite a unique situation. So if that's okay with both of you,
that would be helpful, because that's a very clear clear process. So that's great, and I did appreciate the presentation, Anita, because that was really helpful for me. Thank you.
Good. I suppose just to say, and I know you're going to bring this offline, but it is national funding coming from the national office. So from my understanding of commissioning, that would put you in a different position to others in the local, you know, when it's national funding. But look, talk to Junan and go from there. Yeah. So I think there's someone else with their hand up. Is there? I don't know who was. Is it Leonard?
Yeah, I have a question in relation to a new partner agency. We have a partner agency in Dublin Northeast. Well, it's Cavan Monaghan Loud Meath, and they have set up a new charity, and we're looking at setting them up with a vendor number early next year. Does that process take a long time? I suppose that's my question, because in the past it has.
I'm not sure with the TUSLA now that it's in-house. I know when I did it with the HSE, it seemed to take forever sometimes, and other times it depended how busy they were. But with the TUSLA now setting up the vendors, I'm not sure. It might be quicker, it might be slower. We'd be hoping it might be quicker.
It was taking a number of months the last time. It's just that when they have a vendor number, then they can proceed to register for the portal and then populate the Part A. and then get it signed off. It just delays matters. That's I suppose.
It
really
does. And it's next year you're going to work with them. Would you not start?
No,
now?
we are still working with them, but over the years, but they I think they changed our
because they
ceased the charity
charity
number, so they have a new charity number now. But we've used a fiscal agent to pay them in the past, up until now. But I just wanted to ask the question, just in terms of how long does it take? That's.
I'd say just get on to TUSLA vendors and have a chat with them and see what they say. The new department.
Okay. Thanks, Anita.
No problem. And Pamela.
Yeah, I just had a couple of questions. So my coordinator is off at the moment and will be for another couple of weeks. And I set up a new vendor recently, but not a vendor as in it's a local hotel for lunch for an event that's taking place.
It's a commercial, it's not a partner agency.
So I did that all through my local TUSLA finance department. And they've set the vendor up, but that's okay for that, isn't it?
Yeah. No, that's a different process. Yeah.
Yeah, and then also with him being off at the moment, and obviously I don't have any access to the portal. I don't know if there's anything on there that I need to be looking at. So I know you were saying in the future the grade 5s might be a little bit more involved with that.
Yes, Pamela, you raise a very good point there, and I might just interject. In terms then of in terms of roles and responsibilities at local CYPSC level, in terms of when there is, extended periods of absences, etc. Now that we have the grade 5 CYPSC supports, I'm very conscious I don't have a definitive answer for you here now, and I think we're going to be setting up a working group to just discuss that and tease that out in terms of what will be the standard operating procedures. Where we've set one up already for the website, but in addition we'll be setting one up for this management of partner agency processes, because at the moment in terms of oversight and governance, because we just need to be very tight here in our controls, and the only people who can accept the Part B are the CYPSC coordinators, in terms of making sure that all documents are up and signed and completed in full. You could envisage a scenario where that falls to the grade 5s, and the question you raise, which has been raised by another grade 5 currently whose CYPSC coordinator is on leave, is where do you stand if a payment needs to be processed where there's a period of leave for a coordinator. So I don't have a definitive answer on that, Pamela, but as soon as we do, and as soon as we iron out just some of the governance issues over that, we will communicate it out to the network.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. Margaret?
Hi, thanks Anita for the presentation, it was brilliant. Can I just say, in relation to the signed Part A and the contract of company and the Part B schedule of service, is it okay to refer them as Part A and Part B, or is that just local?
Yeah, no, you can. Yeah, it's a bit of a mouthful the other way, but the Part A is the contract and Part B is the schedule. But
that's fine. Just so it's like it is okay to actually use that language that's familiar to organisations, is it?
It is, I think. Yeah, they'd be very familiar with Part A and Part B. Yeah.
Yeah, that's okay. I just wasn't sure whether we had to use. That's fair. Thank you.
No problem. Nuala?
I'm just going to interject on that, Margaret, because I was corrected that we should not use Part A and Part B.
So is
that Part A and Part B is TUSLA lingo, and that if the Controller and Auditor General had any follow-up on anything, they wouldn't know what the what Part A and Part B would be, and that you need to be very clear that it's a contract and a service level agreement. Sorry.
Okay, no, I wouldn't be aware of that.
You don't have to take my word for it, I would add, but I'm just saying I got into trouble about it.
No, that's fine. That's good to know. I've never heard that being said in commissioning. I know we always use Part A's, contract and information.
That was old-fashioned language. It was probably about 18 months ago. They came in hot and heavy and said, don't call it that, because, and it was more to the fact that, sorry, Roshan's recording this, so I'm caught on camera, that it was more to the fact that you know, it isn't finance language.
Okay, that's perfect. Thanks for that. So yeah, I didn't know that. I hadn't heard that before. Yeah, always good to learn something new.
Yes, no, and I was just made aware that it was probably just maybe it was a Waterford thing as opposed to a national thing. So yeah, that's fine. It's perfect. Thanks, and thanks for clarification anyway.
No problem. Debbie?
Can I just ask if they're after getting their funding and they haven't spent it all and they're in a deficit about getting the monies back?
Sometimes you will have a carryover funding, and in the Part B there is a section on it where carryover. So I suppose it's my understanding, June-Ann can correct me, it's all in agreement with the coordinator. So the coordinator discuss it with them, because sometimes they might have got the funding till later in the year, and there may be agreement that it'll roll over into 2025. The work is going to continue. And so then that will be accounted for in their Part B if they have another Part B the following year. Or there can be a variation agreement sometimes on Part Bs where you go in and say that the funding, you know, they're getting additional funding or there's a change in the agreement. But that can all be done it's really in conversation with the partner agency.
Okay, thank you.
And we would, Debbie, as you know, in terms of funding for 2025 does need to be allocated and spent by December 2025. We'd try and really only keep that to exceptional circumstances. Now, I do appreciate that we have this issue in CYPSC where, for example, programme funds are received January very quickly at the start of any year. Healthy Ireland Fund was in April. The fund stream didn't come into us till April. IP, International Protection Fund, was into us in June. So that does cause issues in terms of trying to get that money spent late in the day. And I'm conscious in saying that an email went out last Friday looking for a call for proposals for a second round of funding from International Protection. And that funding, you know, will be agreed and finalised by the end of September, but is likely to arrive into us at the start of October. So that's going to be very late. So I appreciate that does cause problems. So we'd ask for CYPSCs to kind of link in with us if there is any carryover, but we try as far as possible not to have any.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
So
Okay, yeah. So I just wanted to come in then just before the end just to say, well, Anita, thanks so much. Great to have your experience on board, and thanks for the presentation. And I just wanted to flag, like, I'm conscious that there are 3 payment dates between now and year end, and there's still, you know, we've about 65–70% of funding to be allocated. So we are expecting a lot of payments through for the next 3 payment dates, which, as you can see from the presentation that Anita has gone through, require significant checks by National Office. And I know a couple of coordinators were talking to me over the summer saying they didn't actually realise that we had to do these compliance checks, and we are increasingly be asked to do more compliance checks at our end, so that there's a full kind of audit trail at local level, there's a full trail at National Office level, and then finance will authorise payments. So we do have to comply and do all those checks, and we simply don't have capacity to turn that round if we get 90 payments in and they all need to be issued tomorrow. So I would really urge you, if you can at all, to try and get those payments into us as soon as possible, as early as possible. You know, we've had payments through already for next month, and, you know, we can do our checks, get the approvals out, and, you know, with confidence that they're all going to be included in the payment run. So the sooner you have them into us, it would be great. Okay. Okay, well, if there's no, Kate, yeah, thanks, Kate.
Just in relation to the APES funding that's coming on board again, has there been any decision of how much each area is getting? Because I'm trying to organise a meeting now with the coordinators, or not the coordinators, the committee meeting, just to discuss it. And I know they're going to be asking how much can we use, or, you know.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough, Kate. So you'll be aware that for the first round of funding for international protection funding, the Department of Justice, for the first time ever, used what they're calling a resource allocation model. So normally in CYPSC, like Anita said, we give everyone the same amount of funding. So for Healthy Ireland, we get a pot of money, we divide it up between the 27 CYPSCs. For IP funding, they took a new approach this year. So they basically took into account the number of children and young people in international protection accommodation. They took into account the Pobble Deprivation Index, and they took account the geographic spread. So they took account of three things, and then they made their allocation, you know, accordingly. So say South Dublin and yourselves have the highest number of children in IP accommodation. So you were given the largest amounts. Other counties had lower amounts. For the second round of funding, they're not actually giving a specific amount or using that model at all. They're really looking for, Kate, because they're conscious of how late it is. Any CYPSC that have kind of projects that are shovel ready, if you like, that are ready to go. They would ideally like it to look at holiday periods for children in Q4, so midterm breaks, the Christmas break, like what kind of supports are being offered there. So they're not capping or giving a specific amount. Their budget is large, I understand. They haven't confirmed to me the final amount, but it is significant. And so if locally there, the team if the CYPSC committee feel that there is a project that you know it needs funding, there's I would put in the full application for that amount, Kate.
Okay.
You know, don't be cautious with this. If it is ratified by the CYPSC and there's support for it, I'd put it in your application.
Yeah.
And so the call out has gone out, and they are hoping, I think the date they gave me, like the third week in September, there's a meeting to review all of those proposals, and they'll agree, sanction or otherwise them, and we will get approvals out by the first week in October.
Okay, perfect. Lovely, thank you.
Yeah. Okay. So that's great. Great. Thanks everyone for coming, and we'll issue the recording there to any of your colleagues who didn't manage to make today's meeting. Just to highlight, the next implementation workshop for CYPSC will be on the 3rd of September, when we're doing content management systems training with Granite, who are our IT provider who manage the CYPSC website. And that's open to everyone to attend. So if you haven't got the link for that, do pop Kevin an email, and we'll send that out to you. It'd be great to have a good turnout for that as well. But thanks everyone for coming today.
Thank you.
Thanks everyone.